Hello and welcome back to Infinite Jeff, the project where I, Jeff, read the book Infinite Jest to you one page at a time, one day at a time, put it up on the YouTube, blah, 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 whatever. I'm just knocking this one out today, so let's dive right in. Page 253. Here we go. With fucking CT already moving his collection of platform shoes and unconvincing hair pieces and Stairmaster in upstairs at HMH already. The whole thing was nightmarish. I just could not figure out what the guy wanted. I went down and chewed through the Copley Square Library's grief section. Not disc, the actual books. I read Kubler-Ross, Hinton. I slogged through Kastenbaum and Kastenbaum. I read things like Elizabeth Harper Neild's 7 Choices, Taking the Steps to New Life After Losing Someone You Love, footnote 84, which was 352 pages of sheer goo. I went in and presented with textbook perfect symptoms of denial, bargaining, anger, still more denial, depression. I listed my 7 textbook choices and vacillated plausibly between and among them. I provided etymological data on the word acceptance, all the way back to Wycliffe and 14th century Languedoc French. The grief therapist was having none of it. It was like one of those final exams in nightmares where you prepare immaculately, and then you get there and all the exam questions are in Hindi. I even tried telling him himself was miserable and pancreatitic, and out of his tree half the time by then anyway, that he and the moms were basically estranged, that even work and Wild Turkey weren't helping anymore, that he was despondent about something he was editing that turned out so bad he didn't want it released, that what happened was probably kind of a mercy in the end. Himself didn't suffer then, in the microwave. The BPD field pathologist who drew chalk lines around himself's shoes on the floor said maybe 10 seconds tops. He said the pressure building up would have been almost instantaneous. Then he gestured at the kitchen walls. Then he threw up. The field pathologist. Jesus Christ, Hallie. But the grief therapist was having none of it. The at least he's suffering's over angle that Kastenbaum said is basically a neon bright sign of real acceptance. This grief therapist hung on like a Gila monster. I even tried telling him I really didn't feel anything. Which was a fiction. Well, of course it was a fiction. What could I do? I was panic-stricken. This guy was a nightmare. His face just hung over his desk like a hypertensive moon, never turning away, with this glistening mucoidal dew in his mustache. And don't even ask me about his hands. He was my worst nightmare. Talk about self-consciousness and fear. Here was a top-rank authority figure, and I was failing to supply what he wanted. He made it manifestly clear that I wasn't delivering the goods. I'd never failed to deliver the goods before. You were our designated deliverer, Hallie, no question about it. And here was this authority figure with top credentials in frames over every square centimeter of his walls who sat there and refused even to define what the goods here would be. Say what you will about shit, and we'll have to wait till tomorrow to figure out what the hell the next line is. But that was page number 253. Yeah, of Infinite Jest on Infinite Jeff. Good night.